What is going on, kings and queens of this wonderful wonderland that we call YouTube? Mad Hatter here once again, coming to you as the disembodied voice in your head. And as I normally do, it's to show you a couple cool things that I've been able to add to my collection lately. And yes, this awesome puzzle is one of them. But actually, while I got it up, let's try something new. I kind of want to set this video up a little bit. So why don't you gaze into this puzzle, see what characters from Wonderland that you can see here, and allow me to take you to a time when video games were a lot simpler, and some would argue, even better. Let me take you to an early part of Nintendo's history, back even before the Game Boy Color and the Nintendo 64. Today we're going to look at Nintendo's first console, the NES. Yes, I was actually able to finally get my hands on one, but before I get too excited about it, I got to admit that this isn't actually mine. It was a purchase made by my girlfriend, whose story I will share in a little bit. But even though it's not mine, I'm still very, very excited to have one. Now, whenever it's come down to my history with video games, I've said that I was much more on the Sega side of the spectrum, with the Sega Genesis being my first console. So I've never actually been able to own an original NES and experience it. So from a collective standpoint and a historical standpoint, it's something that naturally I'm excited about because I can say I actually have one now, and I can put it next to my Super Nintendo that I have and say that, I'm complete in that sense. But apart from the collective side of things, probably the coolest part about this piece right here is that it comes with a rather special story. As I said, this was bought by my girlfriend a couple days ago. And it was something that she didn't necessarily tell me she was going to do. She just kind of got a hold of me on the way to my house and was like, I did a thing. The thing is an NES. And it's on the way to you right now. So deal with it. And I did. I cleaned it up and stuff. But anyway, what makes it so special is that a while ago she was telling me that she really wished that she could find an NES, specifically an NES that has a zapper to play Duck Hunt. And reason being is that, unlike me, the NES was actually her first console, and she's got very fond memories of playing Duck Hunt with her siblings. So she really wanted to get her hands on one, and as luck would have it, the other day she was able to. She said, I don't normally buy things without talking to you about it first and asking your opinion on things. But as soon as I saw the zapper on Facebook, I knew I had to have it. And you know what? I didn't even have room to argue. But what really made it special, and I didn't realize how special, was not only hearing about the memories that she had, but also seeing them come to life. I've said time and time again, and I'll say it 100 more times, the big thing between me and video games and our relationship is that I want to be able to not only relive my experiences and share them with people that I care about most, but I also want to be able to share and relive other people's experiences. And that's exactly what I was able to do, because the utter joy and happiness that I watched come across my girlfriend's face as we were plugging it in and getting ready to play Duck Hunt was just something that I will never forget. And, I don't get emotional very much when it comes to video games, but that was a moment where I could not help but get a little bit choked up, because looking at her and seeing the sparkle in her eye over something that simple, I was thinking to myself, wow, this is exactly the reason why I got into this hobby, and this is what I wanted to accomplish. So yeah, like I said, not only is it a great collector's piece, it's in great condition, but it's just the memories that come with each piece that I have. And I would argue that because of that connection that I was able to share and witness, I would say that this piece is probably one of my favorites that I own. And I know my girlfriend's going to watch this, so, babe, I love you. This is for you, and I'm glad that you were able to bring back those memories, and I'm more than happy and excited to share them with you. Now that all that mushy-gushy lovey-dovey crap is done with, let's get on to the real reason behind this video. Now, I had planned to do this video back in November, back when I first got this, and it was going to be a video all its own, but I figured I'd wait to see what became of my NES hunt, and, here we are. So that answers that question. And now that I have an actual original NES, I figured the best thing to do is compare the two. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, and if I haven't given it away yet, I'm talking about this little beast right here. This is the NES Classic Edition. Now, if you have any inkling of what this is, your first question is probably going to be, how much did I pay? And very quickly, I would answer, way too much. This little guy has a $60 price point if you were going to get it at a GameStop or Walmart or whatever store. But I, unfortunately, or fortunately, if you're me looking at it, paid around $200. Now, I know, looking at it, you're probably thinking it's not much to look at, and why the hell would I pay that amount of money for something like this? My first rebuttal would be because I can. I'm a collector, and that's what I do. But more importantly, I would say because I don't trust Nintendo. We all know how unfortunate some of their marketing strategies have been, and of course my source that I'm thinking of course, is the Amiibo fiasco, where they were very hard to come by because they weren't mass produced, and they were just kind of non-existent. And unfortunately, this, for the first part of its life, kind of followed the same suit. Nintendo, I would say that Nintendo, as a company, kind of looked at this as a joke. It was one of those things where I don't think it was taken too seriously. It was kind of like, well, let's throw our hands up and see where this goes. And I don't think even they were expecting it to be the big sensation that it was from gamers across the board. I got to the point where I know stores in where I live were like, we sold all of them day one and we have no idea when we're going to get one in again. So, because it was something that I had to have and I was nervous and anxious about missing the boat, I was willing to pay that price. So I know looking at it, you can see that compared to its Papa over here, it is very, very small. But the funny thing about it is that you don't realize how small it is until you see that you can hold it in your hand. Now, aesthetically, you can see that it is identical to that one. The only difference in terms of aesthetics on the outside of the machine is that where this one has the opening door flap where cartridges go like so, this one doesn't. The door does not open. It's just for display. And the reason for this, of course, has to do with the major difference between the two things. Whereas we all know that one takes the old school cartridges, this little guy does not. Now, I'm not big into hardware and all that nerdy stuff, and I can't tell you what makes this tick, but I can tell you that it contains a flash drive with 30 games on it. And just to put that into perspective so you guys can kind of picture what that means, there are 30 of these bad boys in something that size. And let me tell you, the catalog for this is worth the price that it's going for in stores, and I would argue even the price that I paid for it, because it's not just 30 of random Nintendo games. It is the cream of the crop when it comes to their franchises. We're talking Mario, the original Donkey Kong, Kirby, Metroid, Punch-Out, Castlevania, Ghouls and Ghosts, and the list goes on, and it's just a stellar lineup. Of course, and I think it's only natural to say that, not every game that I would have liked to see on this is there, but who can complain? And like I just said, the 30 game lineup is worth the money itself. Now, the other kind of technical differences between the two are, of course, that this little guy can be played on the big screen, the flat screen. It outputs HDMI, whereas, of course, the original only has the really obnoxious and stupid twist thing that goes in the back of your box TVs. And of course, when it comes to the controllers, this one, as you can see, uses USB controllers, and the original uses the bulky plug-in ones. Now, I did a little test because I was curious, and the controllers are actually relatively the same size, but naturally, sorry, I'm getting way too excited for this next part because I've been waiting a long time to do this. I can tell you that this one is way smaller than that one until I'm blue in the face, but you don't actually grasp the reality of it until you do this. Look at that. And this is actually the very first thing I did when I unboxed the original NES. I looked at my girlfriend, and she couldn't help but laugh because I was like, this is what I gotta do. This is what we're gonna do. I gotta do it. And I was taking pictures and posting them on Facebook and going a little bit nuts. But there you have it. There's our little journey in Nintendo's time capsule. Going from the early 1980s with the original NES all the way up to 2016 and the release of the NES Classic Edition. Now, you're probably wondering, do I want one? If you don't have one already. And I would say that, not only is it cool to have from a collective standpoint like I do, for this kind of opportunity to show you what I'm showing you now. But it's really something that I think Nintendo has knocked out of the park. Because, I'm aware that not everybody has the opportunity to collect these systems and to experience the hardcore original versions like I've been so fortunate to do. So, in doing so, you're kind of bringing generations of gamers together. You're bringing people back that played the original one and grew up with them, and you're giving them their childhoods back, like I was able to do, or my girlfriend was able to do, and not only that, but you're able to kind of open up a door for the younger generation that wasn't able to grow up with this, and they're able to take a step back in history and experience where some of their original, their favorite series, originally started, and that aspect is very, very cool. Not only that, but you're making, a little piece of history, something that's lightweight, not bulky at all, and you can put it in your back pocket and carry it everywhere you go. So it's an all around cool piece, and I can't help but think that this is kind of the direction that Nintendo should look more into. I know that it's kind of been a question on if it's time for Nintendo to stop making technology and making consoles and just kind of pulling a Sega and popping up with games and things whenever they see fit. Now, I'm going to leave my personal opinion of the Switch for a different video, because I think, I could say a lot. But I will say that I think, whether it be a happy accident or what have you, that the NES Classic is a very cool idea, and I would like to see it happen with some of their other systems. How cool would it be to have a mini collection of small consoles, whether it be a Super Nintendo or a Nintendo 64, or how cool would it be to have a miniature Game Boy Color with 30 games on it. And I don't know, the flash card could look like a game that sits in the back of the Game Boy Color. I don't know, it's just an idea. But it's kind of, just paints a picture of how cool it would be to have these historic consoles in miniaturized versions, just like the bar versions of arcade cabinets. How cool those are, and I just really think that it's something that Nintendo should push forward with and come out with more of, because I really think they're onto something. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to about do it for this video. Excuse me. But until next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed this collection viewing, this piece viewing, this content, and I hope you enjoyed this week's video. So until next time, guys, as always, I salute you, and remember, we're all mad here.